Hi, and welcome back to the blog Mom with Purple Hair, a Christian woman's journey to lasting friendships. Okay, so this month I actually have a really good metaphor for you. Friendships should be like a symphony orchestra. Okay, now wait a minute. What is a symphony orchestra? Well, a symphony orchestra has your winds, your strings, your brass, and your percussion. And as I was looking at, all of my friends and my core group, I realized none of us are actually really alike. We're very much an orchestra, making this beautiful music called friendship together. And then it got me to thinking, I was like, maybe that's one of the problems within the church. We're looking for somebody like us. We're looking for strings. We're looking for winds. We're looking for another brass. We're looking for another percussionist. And by doing that, you miss out on so many opportunities of great and lasting friendships. And I don't understand why we do this within the church. Why we start with commonality when the thing that needs to be common is our relationship with Christ, intentional living and radical living. If you have that solid foundation with Christ first and you start with that, that's going to build a better friendship. I talk about my friend Fiona and I when I was getting to know her more in Mom's group. Again, on the surface, I was like, nah, she's not the one. It'll be a nice acquaintance, but she's not the one. On paper, probably you wouldn't put us together either. Matching us up. Probably not. Guess who's one of my closest sisters ever? Yeah, Fiona. But that's because we complement each other. We're not alike. Complement each other. And also our friendship has lasted through some very difficult times. We had one extremely difficult time. It could have torn us apart. But because our foundation was in the Lord, it didn't. One of the first things she told me as we were discussing this, she said, look, this isn't going to tear us apart. I'm not going to lose you over this. And, I was like, I'm not losing you either. I love you too much. She's like, I love you too. And we're like, right? But we worked it out. We figured it out. And no awkwardness, nothing. We're still sisters. We still love each other dearly. And, I've had other relationships that went through hard times, and the ones that were honestly based on a foundation with God, those are the ones that survived. The ones that didn't survive, I was like, I look back and I'm like, yeah, that was more of a base of, we just had things in common. And the spiritual aspect came second. So when trials came, those friendships didn't last very long. So women of the church, start swapping those two things. Start looking for a base within Christ, because it's what we're supposed to do, versus a base of just common things. Fiona and I found a lot of things we have in common. MB and I did, and Margaret and Erin and Lois and Grace and, all of my friends. We found common things. We totally found common things. But common things did not bring us together. And because common things didn't bring us together, we definitely are an orchestra. We're not just a band. We are an orchestra. There are winds and strings and brass and percussion. A very good example of this is studying the 12 men that Jesus chose to essentially be the fathers of our faith. These were the men that he trained to carry on, right, his message. You have Peter, you have Andrew, his brother, James and John, Philip and Bartholomew, Matthew and Thomas, James, the son of Alphaeus, Simon, who is also called the Zealot, Judas, the son of James, and Judas Iscariot. These men were so different. They came from different backgrounds. They had vastly different temperaments. A really good study is to go and study, these men. Go look up references. Just do a topical study on the 12 disciples. And then, you get number 13 later on. You get Paul, right? He was completely different than all of these guys. So, Jesus even decided that to carry on his message and to carry on the word of the Lord, a symphony orchestra was needed. So it was good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for us. Darn it. But, so, joking aside, just start looking outside of yourself. Start looking outside of your little box. I bet there are some amazing women around you and some amazing friendships that you would think would not be possible. But they might be the closest sisters you're ever going to have. All right. You guys all have a Merry Christmas. Listen to a bunch of Christmas songs done by amazing orchestras. And I'll talk to you later. All right. Goodbye.